You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors POSTCAST. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR, and today, the Golden State Warriors were utterly dominated by the Boston Celtics in the MLK Day matchup. Final score 125-85, a 40-point blowout for the Boston Celtics. The Warriors got the first game of the series, if you remember that, but that was way back when the Celtics didn't have Jaylen Brown. The Warriors had a full complement of healthy components on their roster, and times in Dub Nation were joyful. But today, without Draymond Green, this game got away from the Warriors early as the Celtics got every single shot they wanted on offense and put the Warriors to bed well before halftime. And this season is slipping away for Stephen Curry and company in this pivotal week of the season. We'll break it all down, but first I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for tuning in on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed and making us your first listen following these Dubs games. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Charlie Walter does a great job. And today's show is sponsored by Prizepicks. Now's the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, no need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prizepicks, run your game. And today, as I said, the Warriors really, just in that first half, they were already trailing going into halftime. They were struggling to maybe kind of keep it in a striking distance, trying to keep it within 15 if they could, somehow assemble a Curry flurry in the third quarter or something like that. But man, out of that halftime, out of the break, it was just an avalanche from the Boston Celtics. I mean, if you look at the NBA.com box score lead tracker, it just looks like, the incline at the start of the third quarter is just, it's a straight line up. It's wild. This game was so bad for the Warriors from the jump. From the beginning in that first quarter, you got down by the Celtics went on an 8-0 run. The Warriors kind of responded with a little run of their own, but it just never ever really seemed like they were going to be able to sustain that. It seemed like, Steph just wasn't on tonight, and neither was anybody else for the Warriors. Steph led the way with 18 points. Moses Moody had 13 points, and that's the total of your double-digit scorers for the Warriors tonight. It was just abysmal watching this team trying to score points. Andrew Wiggins, the main culprit tonight, 1 for 11 and 0 for 4 from the 3-point lane. From the 3-point line, 2 for 2 from the three free throws, and 4 points tonight, -29 plus minus. Andrew Wiggins, the number one most pivotal player on this Warriors team, aside from Steph. Steph is a constant. We know what to expect from him, but Andrew Wiggins is the biggest variable on this Warriors team. When he plays well, the Warriors look good. They look like they maybe have a chance to do something if you add a component or two to this roster. But when he plays like he did tonight, this team just looks awful. It's unwatchable. 85 points in 2025 is crazy in the NBA. This Warriors team revolutionized scoring in basketball in how today's game is played. And now the Warriors are just so far behind everybody else. You remember the light years Lacob comment that we got from Joe? We're light years ahead of everybody else what we're doing. And now it is just, oh my God, how far the rest of the league has surpassed the Warriors and what the Warriors like to do. It's tough to watch, man. And it's really sad that this is still happening while Steph is still Steph. And I know today he was 6 of 16, only 4-12 from 3-point land. And -15 plus minus, but it's still substantially better than most of the other starters plus minus tonight. As I said, Andrew Wiggins -29, Dennis Schroeder -29 as well. So, Steph's still doing some Steph things. He was really not that great in the first half. Second half, he started hitting some more threes when this one was, already a laugher, and you could have already packed it in and gone home. But man, this one, it's revenge for the Celtics for sure from earlier this season. And, the Warriors had fun winning out in Boston early this season when, they got off to that 12-3 start and things were flowing and you had all the full roster, like DeAnthony Melton was still, pre-ACL injury and, Draymond looked spry and Steph looked great. And all these pieces seemed like they were fitting. Buddy Hield was actually making shots. And man, that just seems like forever ago when you think about everything that's happened in the Warriors season from then until now. And it's just a reality check of what this team really is and what the expectations should be for this Warriors roster. And I mean, it shouldn't be much. I mean, this team is going to struggle the rest of the year. I mean, it's definitely going to struggle the next, week-ish until Jonathan Kuminga is reevaluated. And you are hoping and praying, if you're a Golden State Warrior fan, that he comes back. I mean, he could be reevaluated at the end of this week and be told, you're not quite ready yet, buddy. You need some more time, need some more rest. And the Warriors, without Jonathan Kuminga, look hapless. I mean, really, honestly, just nobody on this team can score. They fell out of a boat. They couldn't hit water. I mean, this team just can't do anything offensively right now. Steph was the best thing going for the Warriors. And I mean, it wasn't his best night, as I said, shooting from the floor. We already outlined those numbers, but it's not all his fault either, because nobody else on this team is doing anything that's worth a damn. No one's worth paying attention to. I mean, the Boston Celtics defense are sending, even though Steph is, 4 of 12 from threes tonight, the Celtics are still sending 2 defenders at him every single time that he's dribbling the ball near a screen within, 25 feet of the rim. And that's because nobody else on this Warriors team is going to make you pay for it. I keep having hope that Dennis Schroeder is going to do something. I mean, this guy, he started to show some signs. Last game was one of his better games as a Warrior. Tonight, as I said, minus 29 plus minus, only 7 points on 3 of 8 from the floor. And you've got to do something. Someone has to step up. And if it's not Wiggins, then it's got to be Schroeder right now from an offensive perspective. He has to be the next man up. And it's just not there. It's just absolutely not there. And this is, it's a bummer because the Warriors went out and got this guy because he was having such a good year in Brooklyn. I mean, he gave the Warriors 30 points when he met earlier this season, and the Nets really took it to the Warriors, and Dennis Schroeder was a big part of that reason. And I mean, we haven't seen a glimmer of that since he's been here. I know it takes some time to get adjusted, but man, time's a ticking. And this season is starting to slip away because in this, they had this stretch with 8 of 9 at home and all 9 of those games in the state of California. The one road game that they're going to play being their trip up to Sacramento, which is their next game on the schedule. And the Warriors, that's going to be on Wednesday, by the way, and the Warriors are going to need to start winning some of these games. But I mean, you look at the schedule, you got the Kings, then you come home for the Bulls, the Lakers, the Jazz, the Thunder, and the Suns. And the Warriors might win one of those games. And if they can only win one of those games, this season is pretty much tanked, because if you fall that many games below 500, this team, I don't think it has the guts in them to really go on a run like we saw earlier this year. I mean, they just don't have the pieces, the firepower. I mean, the offense is so inconsistent that you're relying on a hope and a prayer every single night with guys like Buddy Hield and Dennis Schroeder and Lindy Waters and all these other guys that you can't rely on for any sort of consistency. And you're just hoping and praying that these guys are going to deliver. And right now, they're not delivering at all. And as I said, it's a massive reality check for the Warriors with where they are at in the lexicon of the NBA. And this team, like I said, I just don't think that they're a playoff team at this point. You look at the standings and they're 11th, like somewhere around there, 11th, 12th. And I mean, it's just not it's not feasible for this team to be able to go on a run and stay above above the rest of the teams. They're actually 9th right now. I just pulled the standings. They're actually 9th right now, despite the loss today. And I don't expect them to be able to maintain staying above water in this playoff race. Actually, with the loss, I think they do drop down to 11th. They were 9th before the loss. But anyways, regardless, in the play-in or just barely out of it, and you're not going to be able to hold off the Suns, and I really don't think you're going to be able to hold off the Spurs or the Timberwolves or the Kings. I don't think any of these teams are worse than the Warriors. I really don't. And I mean, each one of these teams, save for the Suns, are continuing to get better just because they have young players that are developing. And the Timberwolves, you see what Ant Edwards is. He's getting better every single day, whether or not you want to he's already so insanely talented, but that guy's getting better every single day. But they rely so much on him. But I still think the Timberwolves just have so much more talent than the Warriors. It's eventually going to win out. And I feel the same way about the Suns. As dysfunctional as that team is, it's not as dysfunctional as the Warriors have been. And they definitely have the edge in the talent department over the Warriors. And I've seen some things on the Warriors, crazy fan Twitter peripheries of people saying like, KD back to the Warriors because he's posting all these memes and videos throwing back to when he was with the Warriors. And that I think that we should just get that out of our heads right now. I don't think that's going to happen at all. The Warriors aren't going to mortgage the future for what the Suns are going to want back for a player like Kevin Durant. So that's just absolutely not going to happen. That's a crazy, insane idea. And even if you add KD to this team, does it really, like, pick any player, any one player you want from the entire NBA and throw them on the Warriors. Does it make the Warriors a playoff team? I don't think so. Maybe it makes them a play-in team. I don't think it makes them a playoff team. You can pick any player from the entire NBA, and I don't think that it would dramatically change the outcome of the season for the Warriors. You have too many holes. You have too many problems with this team. I mean, it's abysmal. Watching this team is painful, and it's hard right now, especially when you're getting blown out by 40 points, and it's the Warriors can't hit a shot. You only put up 85. It's a rough watch. But there's a lot of problems with this Warriors roster as priorly constructed. And, let's talk about it. Let's talk about that next, because this is a big deal, man. Like we thought maybe at the beginning of the season that the Warriors had like maybe found some kind of magic juju with all, Buddy Hield and all these random pieces that they went and scooped up in the offseason after swinging and missing on Lauri Markkanen and a few other big names. And clearly they fell on their face. So let's talk about the roster construction. What went wrong and why did we all fall for this in the beginning of the season? That's next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by Prizepicks. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prizepicks. Whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prizepicks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. Pick more or less on at least two players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Think LeBron's going to drop 30 points, or maybe Luka's getting more than 8 assists, or maybe Steph's actually going to, start draining threes again. Prizepicks lets you make your predictions and just put your money where your mouth is in under 60 seconds. I've been using Prizepicks all season long, and let me tell you, I've been having a blast. And today, I'd stayed away from this Warriors matchup because we got some college football playoff action. And I mean, it's the championship. I mean, not just college football playoff. It is the championship game for the NCAA. So I had to get in on some action all over the place. And Will Howard, the Ohio quarterback, has that special promo going on Prizepicks right now. Just a half a passing yard. Had to go the over on that, obviously, the more than half a passing yard, and the more than half a passing touchdown for Riley Leonard to get just one of those quick, easy wins. I needed a win after missing on the last couple 4 or 5 leggers. I just needed one. So, now is the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prizepicks, run your game. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and I'm just taking a peek at the chat because, this Warriors game is kind of depressing. So seeing if anything in there is gonna spice it up or make my spirits feel a little more, uplifted. And no, it's actually, just exactly what you'd expect. My guy Fossey says this team sucks. And yeah, dude, it really does. And how are we all duped at the beginning of this season into thinking that this roster was constructed well? And I really did, going into the season, I had a lot of skepticism about this team. And they convinced me. It's hand in the air for being convinced in such a short span. It took 15 games for me to jump on the bandwagon of, hey, maybe they can ride this wave of all these ragtag, throwaway pieces that they just assembled, and maybe it's just going to work. And maybe that's just, me thinking back to, certain other Bay Area teams that have kind of done that. Like you've seen the Giants do that for a cross-sport comparison if you're looking for one in baseball. But it's the Warriors. their reclamation projects haven't exactly worked throughout the years. I mean, they've, kind of ended up getting, the better of D'Angelo Russell, which was good. I wouldn't say that was like a successful reclamation project. And they've ended up, scooping up valuable talent that has been willing to come here for, a pay cut and a chance to win a championship. And right now, you're seeing the lack of that. I mean, the role players the Warriors have now compared to the role players that they used to have are just not the same. And neither is the top tier talent. I mean, Steph at 36 is absolutely not the same as he was just a couple of years ago when the Warriors last won a championship. Neither is Draymond Green. His back, his calf, his knees. It's something new every week for Draymond. And it's hard to stay healthy as you age in the NBA and you've had this much wear and tear. And a guy like Draymond, who's been battling bigs his entire career because the Warriors just refuse to go get a legitimate 7-footer, so Draymond doesn't have to battle his body down so much. I mean, it all starts to catch up, and that's where we're at right now with the Warriors. And again, as I said, this is a reality check game for more than one reason. I mean, it's nice the last couple of games, like TJD and Kevon Looney have been really, fought admirably inside. You've seen some good scoring from them when they've needed it. It hasn't been, off the charts, but it's been something on the interior. And mainly it's been the battle of the boards that those guys have impressed on. It's been the offensive rebounds from TJD, but then you play a team, like a real team with a real inside presence like the Celtics, and all that starts to go away. TJD only 2 offensive boards tonight. Kevon Looney only 1. And the Warriors get out rebounded 38-50 by the Celtics. I mean, it's gotta change at some point. I don't know how many years we can go through this with the Warriors not having like a real center on the roster. You need to have a center on the roster, and if for no other reason than to take some miles off of Draymond Green and preserve his talents for at least another, get another season or 2 out of him. If you can just go get a center so that this guy doesn't have to play down low on the block every single possession and get worn out and start missing games in January and February and March when you really need him. And it's do or die time really right now for the Warriors. I mean, you're back to a true even 500, 21-21. You're 11-11 at home, 10-10 on the road. So the Warriors just the perfectly even 500, and that's just what this team is right now. I mean, you just kind of got to tread water until Jonathan Kuminga comes back. And you got to hope that the Warriors can still kind of catch one of these teams at the bottom of the West. Maybe your only chance really is beating out the Spurs and hoping that the Suns just keep collapsing and just utterly fall apart towards the end of the season. But I mean, this roster, it wasn't constructed well from the start, and I don't know how we ever convinced ourselves of that. I mean, the Warriors missing true ball handlers, like true point guards. They had to go out and trade for Dennis Schroeder. Yeah, you had DeAnthony Melton and Stephen Curry, but Melton he can play the 1, but he's not like a pure point guard. And you kind of need that playing off Steph and someone who can command that second unit because Steph does so much off the ball. You need someone who can be that dominant ball handler. Someone other than Draymond Green, because Draymond does that so well when Steph is on the floor. But in that starting lineup together, but you got to have someone with that second unit, the Leandro Barbosa type of guy, the Chris Paul type of guy. I mean, or you just need that second ball handler, or as it was when the Warriors won their last championship, a guy who was just in the building in Chase Center just a couple nights ago, Jordan Poole. I mean, how much do you kind of miss that guy right now? I mean, it just the way that things unfolded between him and Draymond. Obviously, that was that wasn't going to be reconciled, but you kind of miss that guy being in the building. You wish that the Warriors had that second scoring option because you see what he can do. Yeah, if that dude can get buckets, he can absolutely score with the best of them. And you kind of, things could be so much different with him still on this roster. And I mean, it's just a big, big loss for the Warriors not having that second shooter, that second scorer. And Jonathan Kuminga is kind of turning into that type of scorer that, could be the guy to kind of carry this team for a little bit when Steph is having an off night, but he's not the shooter that Jordan Poole is. And I mean, you see the Warriors struggling because of it. This team needs more shooting, but plain and simple. I mean, you went out and got Buddy Hield and you said, this guy's, they kept showing that same stat about how Buddy Hield had gotten to like 1,000 3-pointers or however many 3-pointers it was faster than anybody else in his career. And I don't care. Like, I've seen Buddy Hield with my eyes, and I know how streaky this guy is. I know how inconsistent he is. And I know that when the moment's big, he falls apart. And that's not what the Warriors need. And they tried to kind of dupe us. They did dupe me. And I'm sure a lot of the other people around Dub Nation in the beginning of the season when Buddy came out, looking like a reformed man who is going to actually be a consistent scorer in this league. But man, oh man, the Warriors this roster is just bad, man. Like, you're having tons of minutes go to guys like Lindy Waters and Buddy Hield and Pat Spencer's played a lot this year. Moses Moody played 32 minutes tonight. I've been advocating for more minutes for my guy Moses, but man, 32 minutes is not what I had in mind for Moses Moody. If he's playing that many minutes, it usually means that the Warriors are getting blown out. GP2 only played 12 minutes tonight because you didn't really, why run him into the ground when this game was that far out of reach? So the Warriors absolutely need something from this team and something from anyone other than Steph before Jonathan Kuminga gets back. And in this roster construction, I don't know where it's coming from. Andrew Wiggins is the only guy that you can hope for right now. And again, 1 of 11 tonight for Wiggins from the floor, 0 of 4 from three-point land, only 4 points. It's a tough game. It was a tough watch, and we trudge on here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. So on the other side, though, man, we got to talk more about this upcoming schedule and how the Warriors can possibly tread water to wait until Kuminga gets back, and maybe if Phoenix keeps falling apart, as long as the Suns are as dysfunctional as they are, and the Spurs continue to go through their growing pains, you gotta continue to try and fight for this. Play-in spot at least. You can get the playoffs out of your mind entirely at this point, but you got to keep fighting for the play-in. Maybe you'll be able to pass the Phoenix Suns here as the season enters kind of the dog days of the NBA and enters the home stretch. So we'll see how this all shakes out over the next couple months. But for the Warriors, how do you stay afloat and tread water until Jonathan Kuminga comes back to even give yourself a shot at all of that? That's what's next coming up on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. And tonight, the Warriors, they were getting 9 points. The Celtics were favored by 9. And, 40 points is 40 points. You're going to cover any point spread with 40 points. So the Warriors absolutely do not cover that. The Celtics, even given laying the 9 points, still, hopefully you bet the Celtics in this one. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. And tonight, the Warriors blown out 125-85 by the Celtics at home. And Teresa in the chat saying, Steph was trash. What do you mean? Need help from someone other than Steph? Steph might have been trash tonight. And it's kind of hard to be anything but trash when you're getting, double teamed on half or more of your possessions. But he still led the way with 18 points for the Warriors, was the most effective guy out there, despite being double teamed, 50% or more of the time. And, still led the team in points and scoring. And you got to have, he's obviously the Warriors' leading scorer this season. You got to have someone other than, anybody else other than Steph step up, because that's what defenses are doing to him right now. They're just entrapping him with all these different defenders throwing so many different looks at him because they're not afraid of anybody else on this roster doing a damn thing. So if you get somebody else, it makes Steph less trash. It's pretty simple. Steph benefits when he has another scorer out there, just as most other stars in the NBA do. It's not a one-man sport. You can't just be one dude out there leading the team on your back, unless you're LeBron James and that 1 year with the Cleveland Cavaliers that we refuse to talk about as Warriors fans. But back to tonight's game, man, 125-85. The Warriors just dismantled by the Celtics on this Martin Luther King Day. And, it's one of the best days in basketball. It's, wall-to-wall games all day long. And it's a bummer that this one was as much of a clunker as it was. Excuse me. This one was a big clunker. And it seemed like it was going to be such a nice matchup earlier in the season, especially the way these two teams played when they, if you're a Warriors fan, the way these two teams played when they met earlier this year when the Warriors had all of their healthy pieces. And the Celtics might have been missing a guy or two, and the Warriors beat up on those injured Celtics. And tonight, the Warriors get beat up by the Boston Celtics. And going forward, the Warriors' schedule is daunting. I mean, you got a lot of tough opponents coming up next. You got the Kings, the Bulls. The Bulls right in the mix of the I'm not going to say the Bulls are a tough team in the NBA, but they're right in the mix of the Eastern Conference playoffs. The Lakers, the Jazz, definitely a winnable game. The Jazz, if you're looking for one of those. But then you got the Thunder and the Suns. So, I mean, the Warriors have a lot on their plate coming up. And so, I mean, what do you do? And then, then you get the Orlando Magic after the Suns as well. So you got a lot of playoff caliber teams on the slate coming up and not very many wins I'm eyeballing. And hopefully you get Jonathan Kuminga back, maybe around the time of that Jazz game or that Thunder game. Those are Tuesday, Wednesday back-to-back. So maybe Kuminga doesn't play in both of those, but maybe he comes back for one of those games. And so, I mean, before then, you got the Kings, the Bulls, the Lakers. Maybe you play the Jazz without Kuminga. Let's say Kuminga comes back against the Thunder. You aren't going to beat the Kings. The way the Warriors played against the Wizards, we all saw that, couple nights ago, and the way that they played against the Celtics. They barely beat the Wizards, who have one win away from the nation's capital all year long. And the Kings just easily handled the Wizards by 20 points just the other night. So that tells me that the Warriors are going to have a really tough time with this Kings team. Then you play the Bulls. That's maybe a winnable game, but again, I think the Bulls are going to do a lot of things that make life hard for the Warriors on the interior, and it's going to be tough if you don't have Draymond back for that game, and he's going to miss about a week, so he's planning to be out for that game. Then you get the Lakers on Saturday, and that's another tough game because that LeBron's been doing LeBron things. Anthony Davis is doing Anthony Davis things, and the Lakers are winning games right now, and the Warriors aren't going to be able to really have an answer again inside or be able to keep pace with their scoring. And then so if you lose those games, you fall 3 games under 500. If they lose these 3 in a row, it makes that Bulls game pretty important to win. And so puts a lot of pressure on this Warriors team to somehow, some way, win at least one of these 3 coming up and then win that Jazz game. You have to win that Jazz game and just kind of stay afloat, because then you get the Thunder coming up. You're going to lose that game. It's shocking to me that the Warriors delivered the Thunder one of their losses this year. Still absolutely shocking to me. And then after that Thunder game, you have the Suns. And if you can win that Suns game, again, it just helps you keep afloat enough. It might help you towards the end of the season with tiebreakers and things like that. So you just got to keep winning just enough games to just keep afloat and keep within striking distance of these Phoenix Suns. And so, I mean, looking ahead at these games, the Warriors really need to go about 500 in these remaining games at home and on this little mini homestand, or not so mini homestand. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 game homestand after they travel up to Sacramento for their next matchup on Wednesday. And if you can beat the Jazz, you can beat the Suns, you can beat the Bulls, you might be able to stay alive, salvage something. Jonathan Kuminga and Draymond Green coming back, maybe you get a little bit of momentum, and you start to win some games after that. I mean, you have to start piecing together something. The winning's got to come somehow. If the Warriors want to win, it's got to come from more scoring. The winning's got to turn, or the defense has been there. For it to turn into winning, you got to add the scoring to it. It's multiple components of this game. You can't just do one thing well and expect to win a game. The Warriors obviously didn't play very well on defense tonight. The Celtics shot over 40% from 3 and over 50% from the field, doing whatever they want, sat all their starters early in the fourth quarter. So the Warriors really searching for answers, and the answer is they don't really have one. The answer is hope and pray Jonathan Kuminga comes back and plays like a man possessed. Hope and pray Buddy Hield finds the shooter's touch again. Hope and pray Dennis Schroeder figures it out and rolls back the clock to November, when he was giving the Warriors 30 points, and does that for the rest of the season. And hope and pray Andrew Wiggins figures it out and doesn't go 1 of 11 from the field ever again for the Golden State Warriors. So that's all the time that we got for you guys today. This one was a tough watch for the Warriors, 125-85 loss at the hands of the Boston Celtics. If you stuck around for the whole show, shout out to you, our everydayers who are always checking out the show and tuning in every single day after all these Warriors games. Don't forget, we are going to start out the Locked On Giants postcast fairly soon here. MLB season coming up in about a couple months, and we're going to get that going as well. So make sure you're tuning in for that. And make sure you're liked and subscribed on the channel so that you never miss a postcast. Until next time, we'll be coming to you live Wednesday following Warriors Kings. And until then, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.